Welcome back to the podcast. Sitting with me, guys, is Niaz Perani.
Yo.
I didn't do it as cool this time. I
No,
apologize.
I like that better.
You get the
I feel so much pressure when you're like, Niaz. And I'm like, oh, I got yeah.
You're like, I feel like I have to do something. I don't want to do that.
I'm more mellow.
And Chef David Mao, dude. Thank you guys for joining me today, man. Help yourself to the cookies. It's been good, man.
They're
They're from
good
last
cookies.
night's service, but they're pretty damn tasty, dude.
Hey, cookies are like pizza, man. I like it the next day, too.
Yeah,
Like,
lasagna.
I have a question, legitimate
Sure.
question. Someone asked this on the internet, and I was wondering the standard is, what is the longest amount of time you feel comfortable leaving pizza on the counter?
For me or for a client?
Yeah. Is it still
For you-
warm?
for you.
Is it,
Yeah,
is
there's
it a
some
heat
people-
lamp?
there's
Yeah,
some people
exactly.
that
Is there
would-
meat on it? Is all veggie?
No,
like,
I mean,
what's the
there's some
parameters?
people that will leave pizza out overnight or even for like a couple days out.
Overnight's no problem, dude. I'm
Tony's
down.
all fucked.
Tony, what? Actually, you're the Italian master here. I can't denote you from this one, dude.
No, pizza doesn't last that long. I mean, it might stay that like out while something's going on, but then once it's done, I'll put it in the fridge.
Capture
I'm
the
afraid.
scenario. Capture
I'm
the
afraid.
scenario.
That's what I feel like.
Capture the
I'd be
scenario,
way
brother.
too
Me and
afraid.
you order pizza.
Yeah.
We drink about 4 bottles of those booze that we've been left over from every show. We pass out. We go to sleep. We wake up the next morning. You're eating that pizza, bro. I'll guarantee it.
It's been sitting on the counter all
Yeah,
night.
fuck yeah. Hungover? That pizza's done, dude.
I think about it, but
No.
I don't know. If I left it
thought
out,
about
here's
it.
the thing, if I left it out all night, I would have to cook it. I would. That's how my justification would be like, no, I need to at least reheat it.
I would think that if I ate it and something's wrong with it, I'd have another shot and it would just kill it in my belly.
Look how that, look how
Right?
that
Like,
works. Yeah,
that's-
absolutely. Yeah.
That's 100%.
Jameson kills everything.
Yeah, I'd be like, well, so one more shot of whiskey, and then whatever disease is on that pizza that tasted damn
What's
good
your
is good.
limit on that? Because there
So-
were people saying like 2 days.
So I mean,
don't know, man.
I'm gonna show.
Fuzzy's a bad thing.
Actually, so I'm gonna show how trashy I am right now. So I'm Chef. To your point, anything short of fuzzy is kind of cool with me.
Right.
I'm like 1.2 days. If it's been anything out past that, like I'm kind of like, but it kind of depends on how hungry I am, and it also depends.
Right.
To Homeboy's point over here, like, am I going to throw it in the nuker first? I don't know. Yeah, maybe 1.6. I'm going to throw it in the microwave. I don't know.
If I'm recooking it, I have a longer chance to eat it way longer than a day for sure.
I'm just wondering.
But then you got to realize we eat for a living, right? So I like look at stuff all the time and go, I know that's not good, but I got to try it. And you're like, oh my God.
Why did I do that?
Well, you have to, right? You're like, or you like somebody go, hey man, you should try this, and you have to like smile and go, yeah, and then they walk away. You're like, oh my fucking God. that was
Do
horrible.
you guys as chefs have people coming up to you trying to feed you their terrible cooking?
Yes.
All the time. Yeah.
What are you
Really?
talking about, bro? And the biggest thing is my answer is it's great. You made it. So I've had to learn to keep a stale face, no matter what. And even if and the truth is, if it's only bad if it's bad, like they legitimately messed it up or something. Anybody that cooks for me, I am stoked. I don't even have to like judge it.
Because everybody's probably always
Bro,
expecting
I
you
don't-
guys to
Yeah,
cook.
man. If I go to somebody's house, like people always go, I don't want to cook for you. I'm like, please God, dude, I'll take mac and cheese and like, I'm not asking for anything. We can go buy Del Taco or Taco Bell on the way. I don't care.
Yeah, and
but if I just don't have to cook it, dude, I
gonna-
love your food.
I'm going to give my mother-in-law Rita in Central Illinois a big shout out because she would get so freaking nervous about me showing up at their little farmhouse in Bement, Illinois, and she's like, "Oh my, I don't want to cook for you, Dave." And she makes the most stripped down Betty Crocker 1962 lasagna ever. It's not even Italian.
So
you know what I
good,
mean?
though.
Well, no,
It's
yeah,
freaking
there's
good. Like, and I told her that. I'm like, I love your food. Make me tater tot casserole. I'm cool. Like,
tater tot casserole.
like-
I'm down, dude.
Yeah.
One of my favorite things is legit just a flour tortilla with Laurie's taco seasoning taco meat
Oof.
and just shredded cheddar, sour cream, and chopped lettuce. The best. And that's it.
Isn't that Jimbo's Tacos?
I don't know.
Isn't that-
That is
like,
Jimbo's
it's-
Tacos, yeah.
I'm pretty sure you just described a chain that opened
no.
called Jimbo's Tacos.
That, I'm saying in a flour tortilla, not a taco shop.
Well, okay.
yeah, and I remember those Lowry's taco kits from the 70s.
Yeah.
You'd get like taco shells and then a thing of this, we're making tacos.
Taco night in America.
So I got to ask you, man. I mean, talking about all this, I mean, the home food and restaurant food obviously are two different things. I love them all. I'm not like a hater of home food. I think it's great. I think my grandma made the best food I ever had. I would never serve it at a restaurant. It was the best food I ever had. And a lot of times when I did consulting, somebody go, oh, I want to open this restaurant because my grandma makes the best spaghetti. And I'm like, nobody's
don't
going to
do
like
that.
it.
Yeah.
Don't do that, right? It's horrible. I get that you love it. Don't do it. But from home food to like culinary to being a chef, I mean, Chef, it sounds like you've taken some of the backwoods stuff you did that you would call home and have created it into restaurant food, right?
Yeah, I mean,
is that like a norm? That's a norm, right?
That's I would say that my cooking in the mountains, both spiritually and in practice. Well, it's hard to land it in practice, but in spiritually, I basically finished my first book this last summer, It's called Up from the Flat. Hopefully, I'll be moving forward with it here pretty quick. But, a lot of it was, tales of my journey up there and characters and talking about food and learning about Basque food and these old cowboys and whatever. Kind of a long story. But also part of it's translating the idea of sustenance and hospitality and camaraderie that you get first thing in the morning when you're making crappy scrambled eggs around the campfire, but it's the best thing ever. How does that translate into what we do, Chef? How do you extrapolate that out to this room?
Right.
Like how do you get that's hospitality is the wrong term, but
I call it the best of situational cuisine.
Well, that was the way you were explaining.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
The way you were explaining to me breakfast burritos, like how much.
I thought that was two dudes in the same.
No.
Two dudes in the same.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's two dudes in the same wrap, right?
sleeping bag?
Yeah, same
Yeah.
sleeping bag. I thought that was.
When we're camping up at Volcanic Knob, Volcanic Knob.
How you were. God damn it.
Well done.
How you guys were how you were explaining to me, like, the idea of making a very simple, because you taught me how to make hash browns, which is like not mysterious but also mysterious and delicious once you know how to make them easily. And when you were telling me, like, you throw these in a tortilla, throw in some good eggs and stuff and some salsa, and like people hiking 2 hours later are going to be stoked on life. So I think it's like that extension of cooking, that hospitality goes even further when you're out somewhere remote like that.
Yeah, and that's one of my favorite things in the world to do, Chef, is I love making a big giant bomber breakfast burrito for some kid on the John Muir Trail. And I know when he's up at the top of Silver Pass getting ready to drop down into the next run to Yosemite, he's going to pull that thing out of his backpack, rip off that foil, and just be fucking psyched. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm not joking. Like, he's just going to be like, oh, man, like, hey, whoever this cat was, thank you, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
you just saved somebody's life.
Yeah, and I mean,
Real.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it. You know what I mean? That's what drives me as a chef. I always say that good company is the best ingredient, and pretense makes a lousy garnish.
Right.
And I literally live those words. Like, I just that I don't. This isn't directed at you or any other chef, but I am no more impressed with any chef I've ever met than I am with some, abuelita making tortillas by hand in her apartment in Santa Ana. You know what I mean? I literally, I don't understand the hype. It's like anything you do with love. If you're not doing it for love, if you're not doing it because you want to give a part of yourself to someone, and that's a double-edged sword, man, because if you really care, you're nailing yourself to that cross every day.
Yeah,
dude.
you're exposing your vulnerability within whatever, and I with that becomes lashings. That's just how it goes.
No, exactly. Yeah.
As soon as you open yourself up, which we've all learned and heard, and it never goes away. Is somebody's trying to stab you somewhere for just being you.
Yeah.
I mean, it's happening to me this week.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm sure.
It's pretty comedy.
I'm sure I'm going to be getting it in about 5 weeks in Palm Springs. Absolutely. I can hardly wait. Yeah.
So what's your taking into this? I mean, if you don't mind me asking, I always love the development of concepts from a chef's point of view. I think it's like when I go in, I go through massive stages, which now I can recognize them. This is the 34th concept I've worked on, and not all cooking. They've been some front of the house, some whatever. But when I do like complete build-ups, I can go in and go, dude, I have this great idea, and conceptually it's new, and this idea, and in my head it's perfect. And then we start to execute, and I start putting out, we're tasting it, and everything's perfect. And then that vulnerability kicks in where I second doubt myself right before fucking it's about to go out. Every time, and I have to sit in it and go, wow, man, this really could just flaw my. I could really just eat shit right now, And it is a real thing. Like what I'm doing, just taking a risk, knowing that what I'm doing is in your face, knowing what I'm doing is off the standard, and knowing what I'm doing is what I have to do in order to be me. And yet, here we go, right? And that's the journey that now I find so cool, even with the podcast, with everything else, or even talking to people, is that self-doubt and vulnerability in the middle of that is where you find out like how big your balls are, right? But it never goes away. It never goes away. I think it's maybe it's a flaw that I have that I don't know if it saved me or it's going to kill me one day or whatever. But
I think anybody that's trying to put out any type of creative output is always going to, we wouldn't be doing this at a professional level if we weren't confident in our skills, but we also wouldn't be professionals if we weren't questioning every step of the way.
I like that, yeah. And the crazy thing is, my wife will tell me straight up, you're the first one to jump off the cliff and the last one to hit the floor just because you thought about it so much. And I'm like, well, thanks.
Yeah, well put, yeah.
Yeah, like, all right, I don't know. But it's true. I'll put it all out there, and it's that in the between that you find the iffiness, and it's in between where you find like, right. Whether or not I'm going to drink too much and fall off, or whether or not where something's going to happen and what's going to hit at the bottom. And that's the development of every restaurant or menu or even some dishes, man. I'll get that. And it's not anxiety. It's not a fear of failure, but it's just like the self-doubt that happens right before that. Like, well, maybe this isn't going to do it. I had all this rage. I know it's good to me, but are you at that stage with this new place, or has that even happened to you? I don't know, man.
So I mean, I guess I'm gonna go off on a slight tangent here, but I mean, I think it's a two-part equation for me personally. And when I navigate the space with other chefs, I kind of talk about the same thing. One is, what are you carrying with you that makes you feel that way? But to be perfectly honest, for full disclosure, I don't know about you. I was a bullied nerd in elementary school. So when I get in these situations, I still feel that little kid coming up at me like, oh, am I cool? Or whatever. And
pick me.
Pick me, exactly.
No, I get it, man.
And we've worked with a lot of restaurateurs that both were in opposite spates. You could tell they got big egos because they were bullied, and also other people just don't care and they pretend like they do.
Right.
And I think the part of that journey is what are you carrying with you? You know what I mean? And me and other chef Cody Recuejo were just talking about Instagram presence and social media presence on our podcast. And for me, at the space I'm landing at least this week, is no matter what I do, as long as it's true to who I am, whether it's my Instagram narrative or whether it's my menus or whatever it is, as long as it's true to who I am, way, 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 way deep down underneath, then A, I think my chances of being successful are better, and B, I become less concerned with what people think, because, hey, this is just me.
Right.
If you don't dig it, that's rad. Like at this new project, I'm kind of going to some new territory, chef.
Totally. Well, you got to.
Yeah, and I'm kind of.
We're not young bucks anymore. We got to stick it out on the line. Man.
Yeah, and I'm kind of mixing up.
Doesn't mean it's easy.
No, not at all. Yeah, and especially the hours. But yeah, I'm kind of mixing up with what would be considered new American. I don't really like that phraseology, but I'm calling it new Western, for lack of a better term.
Which I really dig, by the way. I think that
new
term
Western.
Really
I like
well.
that.
Yeah, but taking. What I like where Mexican food and Spanish cuisine kind of slam together in the history of California. I think it's a fascinating, the idea of popcorn soup is what they used to call pozole. You know what I mean? And,
sure. Yeah.
I like that. So I'm taking elements of that Spanish, indigenous Mexican ideals and slamming it into some Basque food and Western cuisine. And of course, Palm Springs is tourist town. I need to have smoked wings and a burger. And I get that.
Are you doing family style stuff out there?
So not right now.
Okay.
I'm doing everything on the same size plate.
Because that's a huge move for Palm Springs.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Family style would be like a kick in the balls to Palm Springs, I would think.
Yeah,
just because they're so focused on like the way it should be back in the like
perfect
50s.
plates.
Yeah, well, it's not really perfect plates. It's just that your individuals, your classics. I mean, when I used to stay out there, even the most risky steakhouse had like the 4 main steaks.
Oh, but
absolutely.
The vibe is so different.
The last, like,
really
5
nice
years. Wine list, but I mean, you're not talking about anything that's outside of what you would think a steakhouse would have. And it was good, but it wasn't like there's no risk. It was like you need to play safe here.
I would say that it's the opposite now. Like there's a lot of stuff going on.
There's a lot of risky stuff out there. What I have noticed with my market research out there, and to be honest, I'm a chef in Palm Springs, which means, chef, I don't go out and spend money on food because, to be honest, I'm not dumb. I'm not going to go out and spend $80 on dinner.
100%.
So, but I will walk a room and look at their menu, and the places that are taking risks aren't really taking risks. Like, there's like Al Dente Grill is like their Italian place. It's supposed to be like, okay, I get it. Who names a restaurant Al Dente?
I was about to say that name makes no goddamn sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
Hey, no, actually,
the al dente steak, the al dente pasta, because you're going to grill your pasta.
It tells you exactly what you're getting, to be fair.
Yeah, it sounds like you're getting crappy pasta.
Al dente pasta and a grill. Something on a grill.
But that's a market out there. You get a lot.
See what I mean, dude?
Sometimes the simplest answer is something called al dente grill.
They should just call it pig or Italian or like maybe would be good.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Let's ask Tony, would you eat at al dente grill?
No.
Would you eat the
The
day?
answer's no, dude.
Well, look,
Would you eat the day old counter pizza from al dente grill?
Oh, it sounds like
that
actually might be good.
Yeah, I'm down.
Hey, it's cured. It's not old.
Yeah,
it's cured.
It's
already
it's
cooked.
aged.
Dry aged pizza.
Dining room aged.
Keep going. So right now you are at that stage. To me, it sounds like you're going to just to get back to it, man. It sounds like you're going through the phase right now where you're going to get all these ideas, and right now the balloon's blowing up. Is how I like to put it. So I get into these things like, oh, this idea is going to work. You got Basque, you got Spanish, you got Mexican. All those are awesome. And this like a new American concept going into this balloon. That balloon's blowing up. Once you get that balloon full, is what I'm talking about. And you're like, cool, it's all going out. That's when my balloon goes, oh shit.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, oh no. And then that's and you know it's good, right? And that's I think the cool part of that's where the risk is. Because right now nobody's eating it. It's just a good concept. You're talking about it. You're getting feedback. So everything's positive. soon as somebody sits down and eats, you're like, now it's like giving an art piece. I hate to quote Dave Matthews, but he said the best. He said,
One, no, you don't.
well, okay, true story.
At least you don't refer to him by his first name only, like most. Dave says. I'm
I
like,
wouldn't
oh yeah,
do that.
like you know him.
I don't know the guy. We peed in the bathroom once together, but he didn't remember it. So it's a true story.
But you did.
But I did. Yeah, it was very awkward. Anyway, he said, he wrote the song Crash, and I never know, like, you never know what artists do. I mean, we're all artists, but I never tell anybody why I name a dish or whatever. And he said, I put it out in the world, and everybody made it like a romantic song, and I guess it's a really horrible story for him. And he said, music's like an art. Once you hang it on the wall, whatever you wrote it about no longer matters. It's somebody else's.
It's the meaning that people
Yeah, it's
ascribe
somebody
to
else's.
something.
And the same with your food. You can tell all this, but you're not at every table telling this. You're like, God, I hope that what I'm doing, like, actually shows to this John Doe or whoever that shows up on that plate, And that's I think that's the fun of the restaurant, man. I mean, I think that's the fucking heroin shoot, right? That I get from opening things and doing new things. That
Are you able to
what?
talk about any of the dishes on the menu that you particularly like, or is it all top secret?
You know what? My Sue is going to be this girl Claudia that's from Bakersfield. She's
Right,
great hard
tell me
worker. And we were just talking about stuff, and she's like, "Oh, I want to put a nice, like a real pozole on the menu, not the jacking around stuff, or not even the kind of watery stuff you get at a lot of like hole in the wall Mexican places. But my brother made a great pozole, like real hearty broth. He used adobo in his; it was great. Anyways, she's like, "Oh, in my family in Shafter, north of Bakersfield, they used to make pozole blanco, and they'd serve mole on the side." And I'm like, "Oh, that sounds freaking great. Let's do."
That does sound great.
Yeah, and
to add to the
yeah,
soup?
like a small little crockery thing of mole, and you put as much mole in your pozole as you want. It's a white pozole with cilantro, and super light body. But if you want a little bit heavier, then you put some homemade. Those are the kind of things, and I like where those worlds kind of collide. And to your point, Chef, me and you were front of house guys. You were the one
totally.
thing. The one thing that I was really thrilled when I met you about when I met you was that you were a bartender, and I was a bartender forever too. So, and getting chefs to walk out from behind the line, I'll just call it what it is. It drove me crazy at the Ace when I couldn't get the chefs to go walk the room.
Right.
I'm like, go walk your room and be nice. You know what I mean? To see what's going on out there. And I tell, I'm going to get philosophical for a second. I talk about, it's called thinking beyond the past. Like, your past is right here, chef.
Right.
I can see it, right?
Yeah.
And that is the least important piece of property in a restaurant.
Right.
Like, it's everything that's going on behind it, with your crew and with your vendors and everything else. And even more importantly, it's everything going on in front of it. And I'm not just talking about this room or in Fullerton or whatever. It's everything going on. Like, that piece of real estate, that 6 by 3 foot piece of real estate, is of no consequence relative to all that. And I can't get chefs to think beyond the past or even think beyond the plate. And it drives me absolutely crazy. I'm like, the food matters. I get it. You're selling food.
Right.
But food's easy. Figure out everything else, and everything else will figure itself out. You know what I mean?
100%.
And I apologize for getting a little
go for
rowdy
it,
right there.
We just talked with this about Zach. Remember, Zach said, I used to think that 100% you were like, wow, why are you thinking all these things outside when I was working about my food? And now he's got a new concept, and he straight out was like, dude, it's way harder now that I have to, I'm responsible for the whole thing. I told him that. When we first met, I said, hey, man, you got to get, like, there's being a chef that does food, and there's being a chef that, like, is willing to take risks but knows that you have to have somebody else cook it, and what has to happen out here, and there's a balance there's no equation for it.
It's a lot of trust you have to put in other people.
There's no equation for success in every restaurant. It's a different equation everywhere. Different style food, different timing, different styles of service. I mean, there's no right answer, and that's what makes this one of the coolest industries in the world, and two, on the complete opposite,
one of the most difficult.
Exactly.
Because you're really trying to solve a Rubik's Cube with every single one of them. Because I do it from the PR side, and you do it
100%.
from the concept side, unless the location, the concept, the menu, the marketing, the everything, unless all of that stuff lines up together perfectly, it's so difficult. It's an uphill climb from the start.
It has to be a national account for it to spread over different cities, I think.
Well, and even then, Magnus Nielsen, the chef from Faviken out in Sweden, he said something to me, or not to me, but he said something.
I was like, whoa.
Well,
Whoa, nice.
I did
yeah.
meet him, and
Rad.
we talked about this concept. So I guess, yes, in that way he did. But the thing he said on Chef's Table was that about 50% of my clients come from Sweden. And the thing is, to get to where he's at, you got to like drive like 3 hours to the middle of nowhere. It's like a 20-seat restaurant. So that tells you, like, people don't eat much more than 5 to 10 miles out of their home, like out of where
Normally. Totally.
Normally, yeah.
unless they're
downtown.
really trying to like find a destination type spot. So you really have to keep that marketing and that information hyper local. Constantly talking to just your community and building that up. So, anyway.
Yeah,
it's difficult.
There's no right equation, and you're 100% correct. I mean, I've had sous chefs that I'm like, hey man, I'll turn this over to you for a month. I'll come back, and in a month the place has gone to shit. And it's not because they did anything wrong; they just didn't look up.
Yeah,
you're like, bro, you got to look up, right? Like you can't not look up. You can't grumble under your voice. You can't, and those things. I know they don't mean anything to you guys. You guys are warriors back there, but to the guy that's standing across from you that's never seen your eyes and only seen the top of your head, he's pissed. Which makes the whole floor pissed now. Now what do you do?
Yeah,
right?
and you can't put that fire out. I had a sous chef tell me one time to my face. He said, I'm not here to answer people's stupid questions and listen to their personal problems. And I was like, no. If I was to describe your job, that's exactly what your job is.
Yeah.
Like I literally need you to do exactly that. Thank you. Thanks for clarifying that. So here's what I need you to do from now on, whatever your name is. You know, like. I need you to answer people's stupid questions and listen to their personal problems.
I had a conversation yesterday. I said, at this point with labor being so high, it costs me a lot less to listen and care than it does to fire you and rehire you.
Absolutely.
It used to be I could fire you and get somebody else and train you cheaper than listening to you if you're a whiner. Now it's not like that. So I hate to say that taught me a lot, but that's kind of how I learned was the hard way. It was
now you're
I used
better.
to be like, fuck, man, whatever, dude, get out. Now I'm like, wait.
Yeah, hang on, yeah.
I understand you have this thing called feelings. We want to talk about this?
Now you're a better listener.
This has happened in the past 5 years in the restaurant industry that we're allowed to have feelings. I remember coming up.
The only
in the
feeling I could have was, man, that pan really hurt in my head.
Absolutely,
that hot heat that you just stuck my hand on, that sucked, Jeff.
Actually, I was watching Gordon Ramsay on that Hot Ones podcast where they're eating the chicken wings. Complex,
yeah.
And he was talking about that too. He's like, how did he say it? He said something. He goes, like the snowflakes of this generation don't understand that getting a pan thrown at your head by someone like Joel Robuchon is what helped me build character.
I 100%.
Do you guys agree with that?
Well,
I mean, it's crazy thought.
I would tell you yes for me, right? But that's because I came from where that was acceptable.
And you learned that.
If I threw anything right now, it would be in a newspaper and I would have a lawsuit, right? I mean, it's just... And it's not that
clearly times have changed.
And there's nothing. And honestly, I'll tell you, there's nothing wrong with that. We call it weak or whatever. You just have to redirect the boat, man. Like now my big thing is I tell people, hey man, you're better than that, bro. And they're like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm like, look, dude. I'm like, you saw that, right? Look at that. Look at mine.
It's so shamefully reflective.
You're better than that, bro.
Yeah.
Right?
Dave,
let's be honest.
You're better than that. You don't even know what I'm talking about, but you feel
No,
bad.
yeah,
you're better than that, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm showing you better, and you're doing it.
Just don't say that after I have sex. That's all I care about. Like,
now we're back to the breakfast burrito thing.
Breakfast burrito, yeah.
I know how that goes.
Yeah, I think my cultural vision is, there's a John Wayne quote from one of his movies says something cheesy like, I don't put my hands on another person. I expect the same thing in return. And like, honestly, if I ever had a chef raise his voice to me, and even at my point in my career, if I'm working for someone, like I'm the kind of guy, you may not like or agree with your chef, the exec, but he's your exec. Like you just deal with it.
It's like your dad. You go, yeah, man.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you go, yep.
But however, if I ever got like actively yelled at, like I just walk. Like I can go work any place I want. But I also take that inside me that like, I'm not going to raise my voice to somebody, and I expect them not to do it to me. And I also tell people when they work for me, I'm like, I'm going to tell you once, or I'm going to ask you once, and then I'm going to tell you, and there just won't be a third time.
Right. And then I'm going to tell you.
There's no drama involved. Like,
right.
I'm going to ask you nice. Hey, you get the full day bro treatment. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to, hey, dude, you need to do it like this, and then there just won't be a third time around.
It's just times have changed. But I'll tell you right now that chefs that I used to have right out of culinary school when I was overseas and doing stuff, I mean, I would take plates to them that they would not try and go, nope, and throw them in the trash and be like, there was shit on the rim. And I'm like, dude, like they're like, we don't care. Don't send me crap. And I'm like, I mean, right away, I'm like, well, I thought it was good, but you learn no more shit on the rim.
Yeah.
Right. So
what is the Kung Fu movie? Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it's just, I mean, that was true. It happened to me a lot. It happened to me with like knives. It'd be like, cool. You don't want to treat your knife right. They take your knife and be like, now figure it out.
Now cut with
You're
your
like,
hands.
wait a minute. They're like, what? Like, see what I mean? Treat your knife right.
Yeah.
Now do yourself. Oh, you failed today because
Well, look, as a
that's just how
person,
it goes.
As a person who takes pictures of food on the internet for a living, wipe every rim because it makes me crazy.
Yep, absolutely. With that being said, we're going to take a break right now. We'll come right back with one more fat segment with these fighting gentlemen.